I got into a car accident and ended up in the hospital. Suddenly, I felt like teasing my boyfriend, so I pretended to have amnesia. Who are you? Seeing Steven's expression freeze, I almost burst out laughing, but then Steven suddenly pointed at his best friend. Dominic, I'm your boyfriend's buddy. He's your boyfriend, Dominic. My smile stiffened. Dominic stepped forward. Yes, I'm your boyfriend. I forced a smile. Then take me home. Chapter 1. Dominic took me back to our place. He told me I'd always lived here. I looked around the place. There wasn't a single trace of my life here, but I nodded. Playing blind just like him. I lay in his bed for a while and got up to get a drink of water, only to hear a voice message playing in the living room. Dominic, help a bro out. Pretend to be Regina's boyfriend for a bit. Aren't you worried she might suddenly regain her memory? If she does and gets mad, I'll just sweet talk her back. She loves me too much to ever really leave. Honestly, I'm kinda tired of her anyway. This is a good chance to breathe a little, have some fun out there. So it's true you've hooked up with Misty? Just wanna spend more time with her. Huh? You get it. But hey, I still love Regina more. For real. While Regina's staying with you, just don't touch her. Man, but I trust you the most. You've never liked Regina anyway. Barefoot. I backed away slowly, made a little noise at the door, then walked back toward the living room like nothing happened. Dominic heard the sound and quickly ended the message. Rushing over. The floor's cold. Why aren't you wearing shoes? He hurried over, scooped me up, and placed me gently on the sofa. I'm thirsty, I said. Looking around, I can't quite figure out where to get water. I'll get it for you. Dominic walked over to the water dispenser and brought back a glass. He sat beside me, watching me. Are you feeling okay anywhere else? I took a sip and shook my head. He reached out to smooth my slightly messy hair and leaned in to kiss my forehead. My eyes froze for a second. I had just heard Steven tell him not to touch me, and I had thought Dominic didn't like me. But now, when he leaned in to kiss my lips, I turned my face away. He gently cupped my cheek. You don't remember now, but that's okay. Let's take it slow. You'll get used to me again. Dominic, it seemed, was lying to his best friend. 2. Chapter 2. When Dominic brought me into the VIP room, the place was already buzzing. A bunch of rich young guys fell silent when they saw me and turned to look at Steven. Oh wow, Regina's here. Do you remember me? I'm Misty, your college roommate, said Misty, sitting close to Steven, her arm wrapped around his. Dominic led me to a seat, and I looked at her, then shook my head. Sorry. It's okay. We can all just reintroduce ourselves, she said sweetly, leaning even closer to Steven. That former college roommate, and later friend, now thought I had amnesia. She clung to Steven like she was claiming her prize. Eyes full of smugness, Steven seemed to enjoy the thrill, being openly affectionate with another woman right in front of me. Yeah, both of your boyfriends are part of the same friend circle. How convenient, one of the guys joked. Whether you have your memory or not doesn't really matter. Another chimed in. Their comments carried a nasty undercurrent, like it was fun to watch someone get cheated on in public without realizing it. The games continued. Steven and Misty shared a cookie from opposite ends. The closer they bit, the closer their lips got. Kiss! Kiss! Everyone chanted. So Steven kissed Misty deeply, right there in front of everyone. Afterward, Misty shyly leaned into Steven's arms, shooting me a look full of silent triumph. Steven held her proudly. Then it was my turn to be punished for losing a game. The punishment? Choose someone and kiss them for 30 seconds. The room quieted. All eyes on me. They were curious. Who would I pick? Would I instinctively choose Steven? Steven seemed nervous, avoiding my gaze. Maybe he was scared I'd remember something too soon. Dominic beside me was also tense. I smiled and said, "Of course I'm picking my boyfriend." I turned to look at Dominic. Shall we? I could clearly feel the tension drain from his body. He stared at me for a moment, then leaned in. I reached up, wrapped my arms around his neck, and kissed him. Whoa! A chorus of surprised exclamations followed. They might have seen Steven kiss other women before, but none of them expected me to kiss another man like that. It was something new, shocking enough to silence the room. Dominic didn't hold back. He chased after the kiss with no hesitation. After 30 seconds, I pulled away, only to see Steven's face clouded with anger. No wonder everyone had suddenly gone quiet. What a joke. Dominic gently wiped a bit of moisture from the corner of my lips. What's wrong, everyone? I asked with mock confusion, pretending not to notice the shift in mood. Wasn't I just taking my punishment? Even with amnesia, Regina's still very familiar with her boyfriend. Misty quipped sarcastically, clearly mocking me for being clueless. Steven looked even more annoyed. I walked out to use the restroom and overheard voices near the stairs. Dominic, I told you not to touch her. That was low. Steven's voice came out cold. It was just part of the game, Dominic replied, laughing. She's got amnesia. Who else was she supposed to kiss? You? While you're cuddled up with someone else's girl? Be realistic. Right now, I'm the one you told her is her boyfriend. Steven was silent for a moment. Fine, just watch yourself. I don't think you'd actually want to sleep with Regina. But still, keep things from getting too intimate. Will you? Otherwise, you might find it hard to control yourself. And honestly, I'd feel pretty guilty. Heh, you really do know me. Back at Dominic's villa, just as I was about to walk into the bedroom, he pulled me back. Without a word, he lowered his head and kissed me. I tried to turn away, but he held me tight. He only let go after a long while, his hand cradling my cheek as he whispered, "We made progress today, didn't we? We can get to know each other even more." I looked up at him, dazed. Once again, he was doing the exact opposite of what he told his brother. I couldn't understand him. Steven and I came from completely different worlds. It took all of his persistence to convince me to be with him. Later, I met his friends, a bunch of spoiled rich kids, especially Dominic. Dominic disliked me, looked down on me. It was no secret in their circle. He always had something snide to say about my relationship with Steven. Back then, I avoided him whenever I could. But now, after Steven forced me into this fake setup with him because of my amnesia, Dominic kept doing these things. Was it revenge for being shoved into this role? As a designer, my job's flexible. I often work from home. Dominic knocked and came in. "You've been working hard. There's going to be a fireworks show tonight. Let's go see it." We arrived by the lake, where the fireworks were set off. Steven and Misty were already in the best spot, watching the dazzling display. Misty leaned against Steven, then suddenly jumped up and planted a kiss on his cheek. Full of joy, Steven smiled at her, lightly tapping her nose. Then he turned and spotted us. For a second, Steven froze, awkward and caught off guard. But quickly, he pretended it was nothing. Misty saw us too. "Oh, you're here. Regina, perfect timing. Help me and Steven take a few photos, okay?" She walked over and handed me her phone. Steven hesitated, then glanced at me. "I'm so happy today," Misty said, returning to Steven's side and gazing at him with a dreamy smile. "Steven planned this fireworks show just for me. I want to capture this moment forever." Steven's expression softened as he put his arm around her. The hand I was holding her phone with froze slightly. So this whole extravagant firework display was something Steven had put together for Misty. Chapter 3. I looked at the image on the screen, Steven and Misty wrapped in each other's arms. Steven held her gently, Misty leaning into his chest with a blissful, contented smile. Behind them, fireworks lit up the night sky in a grand, romantic display. I quietly took the photo for them. Once, on my birthday, Steven had arranged a fireworks show just like this for me. Back then, Misty had offered to take pictures for us. I must have looked just as happy, just as radiant, as she does now. I even remember Misty sighing with envy, saying, "I really admire you guys. I hope one day I'll have someone who treats me this well." I had comforted her back then, told her she would, and now, she really did. The phone was gently taken from my hands by Dominic. "All right, you're not here just to play photographer for them." He tossed the phone back. Steven caught it and handed it to Misty. After the fireworks, Misty and I went to the restroom. It was too crowded, so I gave up on going. On the way back, I overheard a conversation, Dominic and Steven, standing near the stairs, unaware I was close. You seem to be having a good time with Misty, Dominic said. You haven't looked this happy in a while, not even with Regina. True, Stephen replied. Lately, being with Misty feels like I've rediscovered what I used to have with Regina. She's even sweeter, more attentive. She makes me feel comfortable, happy. Then why not just go with it? Dominic said. Let it happen. Misty does seem to suit you better. Regina, she's stubborn. Isn't she? Always such a headache for you. Dominic. Stephen sighed. Regina and I have years of history. It's not something I can just toss aside. Misty told me she's not expecting anything serious. She's just happy to enjoy this time with you. She's such a silly girl, he added with a soft chuckle. Heh. Back at Dominic's villa, he suddenly pulled me into a kiss. Then he pulled away slightly, looked into my eyes, and said seriously, Regina, you know what? You're the best version of yourself. There's no need to compare. I stared at him, stunned, almost as if he were responding to Stephen comparing me to Misty. How does he know me so well? He remembers all the little things Stephen has long forgotten. The kind of candy I like. The dishes I enjoy. The movies I could watch on repeat. And this time, he pushed the line even further. I didn't resist. He paused, watching me, then picked me up in his arms and carried me to his room. Stephen had been the only man I'd ever been with. At first, I didn't trust him. I kept my distance, but he won me over, through patience, through sincerity. He treated my grandmother with respect. He helped me behind the scenes without ever asking for credit. Later, when his parents disapproved of us and cut off his financial support, I thought that would be the end. But he didn't give up. He worked part-time jobs and studied beside me. Eventually, his parents relented. That's when we were truly, wholeheartedly together. When my only grandmother passed away, it was Stephen who held me and said, "You still have me. I'll always be here for you." That kind of love. Now it feels like a stranger. If that's the case, then maybe it's time to learn how to love someone else. On Friday, the group went to a resort for the weekend. When it came time to assign rooms, Stephen didn't look pleased. He pulled Dominic aside and said, "You're seriously planning to stay in the same room with her? Just split up, okay?" "It's just a room," Dominic replied. "You know I've always disliked her. What are you so worried about?" I walked up right then. Stephen's face twisted, but he swallowed his words. The next morning, Stephen pulled Dominic aside, furious. I happened to be upstairs on the balcony and overheard them down below. "You slept with her last night, didn't you?" Stephen demanded angrily. "What? Were you eavesdropping on us instead of sleeping with your precious little girlfriend?" "Seriously, Stephen, that's creepy," Dominic snapped. "Don't change the subject." "Dominic." Stephen's voice rose. "That's enough. I don't need you to pretend to be Regina's boyfriend anymore." Chapter 4. Heh. So what are you planning to say? That you're actually her boyfriend? That you lied to her and said I was her boyfriend just so you could go fool around outside, maybe even mess with her friends? Dominic sneered. "Do you even dare admit it?" Stephen froze. "And what about your new girlfriend?" Dominic added. "Don't you really like her? She's right over there, isn't she?" "Misty and I agreed from the beginning it would just be something short-term," Stephen said. "I never planned to give up on Regina. She loves me, not you. She's bound to get her memory back sooner or later. I'll apologize properly, propose to her, promise she'll be the only woman in my life. She'll forgive me, I know she will. But you went behind my back and slept with her? So much for being my brother." Stephen's voice was seething. "Didn't you always say you hated her?" "Humph." Dominic let out a cold laugh. "When did I say that? Weren't you the one always saying it?" Stephen clenched his fists, glaring. "I never imagined my own brother, the one I trusted the most, would turn around and pull something like this. All this time, you were hiding your twisted desire for Regina, and now you use the situation to get her into your bed." "Stephen, you made this bed yourself," Dominic said calmly. "The one who told her I was her boyfriend was you." Stephen's expression crumbled, embarrassed and panicked. Dominic went on. "Now that Regina and I have already crossed that line, and since you think Misty's so wonderful, like I said before, why not just let it be? When Regina gets her memory back, No need for you to beg forgiveness, I'll do it. Wouldn't that make everyone happy? Steven stared at him and let out a cold chuckle. I don't care that you've slept with her. If anything, it might help her forgive me even faster. I'm ending things with Misty. Now, I'm going to fix what I broke, and I want to see which way Regina's heart tilts in the end. I sat upstairs on the balcony, absent-mindedly playing with the flowers in a planter box. That's when I noticed Misty, on the other side of the wall, had been eavesdropping the whole time. After hearing Steven's declaration, she ran off in a panic. That afternoon, while the men were off fishing, Misty suddenly called out to me, "Regina, let's go pick some grapes. It looks like so much fun." I gave her a meaningful glance, then smiled and followed. In the vineyard, Misty suddenly handed me her phone. "Regina, I want to show you something." I took the phone and looked at the screen. "There are a lot of them," she said sarcastically. "Take your time." I took them off Steven's phone, one by one. I scrolled through the photos, intimate shots of Steven and me, kissing, cuddling, even photos in bed, spanning all the way from our college days until now. I handed the phone back and looked her in the eyes. "And what's this supposed to mean?" She froze for a moment, then gave a bitter smirk. "What does it mean? Are you really asking me that? Steven says Dominic is your boyfriend, and yet this is the guy you've shared so much with. 4 years. Don't you see what's happening here?" I said calmly, "But everyone says Dominic is my boyfriend." "Regina, are you seriously this stupid?" Misty snapped. "Can't you see it from these pictures? Steven is lying to you. He's always been your boyfriend, never Dominic. Steven used your amnesia as an excuse. He didn't want to deal with you anymore, so he tricked you into thinking Dominic was your boyfriend, just so he could be free to play around. And Dominic went along with it. They're both lying to you. You've been spinning in circles, being played like a fool, and everyone is watching, laughing behind your back. I'm your friend," she added. I couldn't just watch it happen without saying something. I had to tell you. She poured everything out in a rush, frustrated and self-righteous. But I remained calm. She stared at me, shocked by my unmoved expression. I smiled faintly. "So what? Am I not doing just fine now? Is Dominic treating me badly? Is he worse than Steven was?" Her eyes widened in disbelief. You knew? You actually knew everything and still acted like this?" Something clicked in her eyes. You never lost your memory, did you?" I plucked a grape and popped it in my mouth. "Oops, guess you caught me. But as a friend, you won't tell, right?" You. She stood there, stunned. "You've been faking it this whole time, and still got with Dominic?" "Regina, I can't believe how well you've hidden all this. I'm telling Steven. I'm telling Dominic. You lied to them both. You've been playing them from the start." I plucked another grape and gave her a lazy smile. "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to blow everything up like that? Because if you do, will Steven still want you by his side?" She froze. Her face turned pale with panic, no doubt remembering Steven's words from that morning, about how he was going to end things with her. Chapter 5. Then Misty scoffed. "So what if I tell Steven you've been faking your amnesia? That you've been lying this whole time and even slept with Dominic on purpose? You think he'll still want you? Isn't he more likely to come back to me?" "Oh, sorry," I said with a smile, "but I can't exactly ruin the image I've built in front of them all this time." I gave her a gentle look. "I'll say I only fell into Dominic's arms because Steven lied to me, made me think he didn't want me anymore. I was hurt, devastated." I smiled wider. "Now tell me, will he believe I manipulated him, or that I was a broken-hearted woman looking for comfort? Will he feel betrayed, or guilty and full of pity? After all," I added, "he did just say he didn't care that I slept with Dominic, didn't he?" Heh. Misty stared at me like she'd just seen a ghost, actually taking a step back in fear, as if she was meeting the real me for the first time. "Regina, I never imagined. I never thought this was who you really are. You're nothing like what you used to seem." "What was I like before?" I asked, amused. "Misty, you went out of your way to become my friend, spent all that time getting close to Steven. You know why you did it. So why pretend like I'm the one with some hidden agenda?" Misty's expression turned pale. I love Steven for real, but you've been faking everything. You knew the truth and still went to bed with Dominic. You're nothing like what everyone thought you were: strong, brave, kind, loyal. Someone who truly loved Steven. That's not who you are at all. You never loved him. Who says I didn't love Steven? I said, almost laughing. If it weren't for him pushing me away, shoving me toward Dominic, wasn't I always the one holding on to him? Did I ever betray him the way he betrayed me? I looked at her, puzzled. Why are you talking to me like you're some moral authority? If Steven had nothing, no money, no connections, could you still say you loved him? Honestly? Her face twisted, turning from red to pale. You. Regina, you're terrifying. I'm terrifying? I smiled. The man who pushed his girlfriend into someone else's arms isn't terrifying? The guy who cheated on her with her own friend? He's not terrifying? I laughed, still looking at her. Misty, you should be grateful. Between Steven and Dominic, I only plan to keep one. I don't intend to compete with you. In my eyes, Steven's already tainted. If you want him, go ahead, do your best to hold on to him. I won't interfere. Relax. Misty's voice trembled. So, you don't love Steven, and you don't love Dominic either. You just want a rich man, whether it's Steven or Dominic. As long as he can give you a good life, you're fine with it. I was growing impatient now. I told you I loved Steven, but what did I get in return? Why should I keep loving a man like that? Dominic lied to me too, so why should I hand him my whole heart? The difference is, Dominic, at least for now, still seems cleaner in my eyes. If he treats me well and gives me what I want, then naturally, I'll return the favor. Misty looked at me with wide eyes. You're so sure you can keep Dominic under your control? He's known as the most unpredictable, most dangerous guy in the group. I rolled a grape between my fingers. You use your abilities. I'll use mine. We both know what it's like to grow up with nothing. You decide how far you want to go. If you don't come after me, I won't do anything to you. But if you lose control again, like before, and try to turn me into your enemy, just then, I felt a presence outside the vineyard, like someone was watching us. I turned to look, only saw a few leaves rustling. Misty and I carried our grape baskets and walked out of the vineyard. Dominic approached, met me halfway, and gently took the basket from my hand. You've been gone so long, I got worried, he said tenderly, wrapping an arm around me as we headed back to the guest house. Misty stood there watching me, watching the way this man treated me. Steven came hurrying over too, but he didn't go to Misty. Instead, he just stood there glaring coldly at Dominic. I gave him a casual glance, puzzled as always. Then Steven suddenly stepped forward. Regina, there's a natural riding field nearby. You said before you wanted to try horseback riding. Let me take you there later. I looked up at Dominic. Did I really say that? Then you can take me later. Sure, Dominic answered gently. But first, let's go wash these grapes. He led me away. Steven stood frozen on the spot, and I could feel Misty's jealous gaze stabbing into my back. Later, we sat at a table. I was peeling a grape when I noticed something in Dominic's gaze. It seemed different. I looked up at him. He immediately smiled, soft and steady, like usual. I smiled too and fed him a grape. He bit into it, then took my hand, trailing his mouth along my fingers, almost like he was trying to taste every last drop. Ever since that night, Dominic always had a way of turning things intimate at any moment. Chapter 6. Later, we geared up and went to the riding field. A few rich kids were already on horseback, and Steven and Misty were still over by the stables. Misty was talking about which horse to pick, while Steven seemed distracted. Misty, I need to talk to you, Steven suddenly said. Misty looked flustered. She knew what Steven was about to say. Then she saw us and quickly called out, "Aw, Regina, you're here." We walked over. Have you picked one yet? I asked with a smile. Dominic was talking to the staff, asking them to pick a gentle, good-looking horse of the right size for me. He rode with me for a bit, and then we heard something going wrong on Steven's side. Steven, watch out. Misty. Ah. A horse, which had somehow been let loose, was charging uncontrollably straight toward Steven. Misty didn't care about her own safety. She rushed to block it on horseback. She was thrown off her horse in the collision. Injured, she was quickly taken by Steven to the resort's medical office. The staff whispered among themselves. No idea why she rushed in like that. All the other riders avoided it just fine. Steven's riding skills are more than enough to dodge it too, even if he couldn't. He was holding the reins steady and sitting firmly in the saddle. He wouldn't have fallen. It's way better than Misty charging in sideways like that without even sitting properly. Got herself hurt for nothing. If they tried to blame us, it'd be completely unfair. Of course, Steven didn't hear any of that. Misty was later transferred to a hospital in the city. The doctor said she'd probably need a wheelchair for a few months. When Dominic and I got back to the villa, I couldn't help but sigh. Misty really doesn't hold back when it comes to hurting herself. Let's see if it gets her what she wants. As Dominic held me in bed that night, he said, "If you were ever in danger, I wouldn't want you to save me like that. I'd rather know you're safe." I looked up at him. "Sounds like you're trying to preemptively defend yourself." As if he knew I'd never recklessly rush into danger to save him. "If you were in danger, I would do whatever it takes," he added. More seriously, I smiled, stroked his face. "We'll both be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen." He held my hand against his cheek, kissed it, then leaned over me. Steven's been spending a lot of time at the hospital lately. Misty's been posting constantly on social media, flowers Steven brought her, meals he prepared, how well he's taking care of her. She looks so happy. I've been doing pretty well too. I once said I loved Steven, so when I saw him push me toward Dominic, of course it affected me. I haven't seen him much recently. But some things, you really shouldn't speak too soon. One of my interior design projects won an award. It was a submission I sent in a while back. I had even told Steven, "Make sure to come to the ceremony, okay? If I win, I want to share that joy with you first." He'd said, "I've got a friend's birthday that day. We'll see." But he showed up today. I went on stage to receive my award and gave my speech. Then I stepped down and ran in that direction. Steven took a step forward, eyes lighting up, but I ran straight into the arms of the man holding my favorite flowers, reaching out to welcome me. Dominic picked me up and spun me around twice, kissed my cheek. "Regina is the best." Steven stood off to the side, staring at us, his eyes red, his fists clenched tight. It was Grandma's Memorial Day. When Dominic and I arrived, Steven was already there. He looked at me gently as I approached. "I've cleaned up around Grandma's headstone." "Aw, thank you," I smiled. "Dominic, we should properly thank your good brother." "Sure, I'll make sure to give him a good treat." Dominic placed the offerings in front of Grandma's grave. "I actually cleaned up yesterday already. No need for my good brother to worry about it next time." Dominic and I respectfully paid our respects. I told Grandma, "Dominic treats me really well. I'm very happy. Please don't worry." Steven stood silently to the side, fists clenched, watching us pray together. Chapter 7. I knew Dominic had stopped Steven from telling me the truth. He'd said, "Do you really think she'll accept it if you confess to lying to her while she hasn't regained her memory and doesn't love you at all? Or will she just end up hating you completely?" Steven got scared, but after days of being treated like an outsider, completely ignored by me, he couldn't take it anymore. He blocked my way after work. "Regina." He looked at me as if full of emotion, like he hadn't been able to look at me this freely in a long time. I frowned. "Steven, what is it?" "Regina, I've already ended things with Misty." He took a step closer, speaking anxiously. I instinctively stepped back. "What does that have to do with me?" "Regina, I want you to know. Misty and I, it was a mistake." "It was her. She kept approaching me," he said, flustered. "But I realized it in time. I knew I was wrong and I corrected it." I frowned. "You don't need to tell me this." He shook his head in frustration. "I was going to wait until you got your memory back. But I can't wait anymore. You need to know. Regina, it's me. I'm actually your boyfriend. Steven. There's really no need for you to say this nonsense to me. Isn't Dominic your best friend?" I cut him off. "Dominic is no longer my best friend," he said, furious. "It was him. He deliberately took you away from me." "What are you even saying? I don't understand you at all. Please stop this." I was trying to think of a way to get rid of him when I saw Dominic's car approaching. Dominic! I ran toward him. Dominic immediately stopped the car, got out, and came over to pull me into his arms. I leaned into his chest as if I were scared. He held me tightly, glaring at Steven. Steven, what kind of crazy are you pulling this time? Dominic! Steven's fists clenched as he stepped forward, full of anger. Steven, do you really think throwing a tantrum will get you what you want? The only reason you can still show up in front of Regina is because she doesn't know who you really are. But if you keep this up, she'll avoid you forever, and I'll make sure you don't appear in front of her again. Our brotherhood, our entire circle, it can all end here. Dominic's voice was deep and calm, but full of hidden threats and unmistakable warning. Steven froze. He understood exactly what Dominic meant. If he told me the truth, he knew how I'd react. If he pushed this any further, Dominic would flip the entire table, and Steven would have no chance of seeing me again. As Steven looked at me with red, burning eyes, Dominic took me into the car and drove away. I looked at the man behind the wheel, and I don't know why. Lately, it feels like he's been following my every expectation too perfectly, as if he knew exactly how I wanted him to act. But how could he know? I'm just a woman who lost her memory. Misty asked to meet, saying she'd finally given up, that once her leg healed, she'd leave the city. She also said I didn't need to worry about her telling the truth anymore, implying, of course, that if I didn't show up, she might spill it anyway. I met her at the lake. She was sitting in a wheelchair by a bench. Still in a wheelchair? I walked over. You're really leaving? She smiled and motioned for me to sit. What's the point of all this? I got nothing, just ended up hurt. I really did love Steven. I shrugged and sat down on the bench. Hope you find peace. She looked at me. I really admire you, having both Steven and Dominic in love with you. I raised an eyebrow at her expression. You're not secretly recording this, are you? She froze, then smiled and handed me a recorder from her pocket. You're good. I turned it off and handed it back. No need to overthink it. Steven loves me? Then why did he betray me? And Dominic, who knows what'll happen with him? I spoke with a hint of sarcasm. She stared at me. I used to think you were all about honesty and kindness. But now I see you're guarded. You keep your feelings close. I frowned. Stop looking at me like I'm some mystery. I just believe in loving myself first. Is that so hard to understand? But you got everything, and I got nothing, she said weakly, full of sorrow. Then stop obsessing over that one word, love. After everything you did to Steven, couldn't you just take a nice settlement and live comfortably the rest of your life? I said. She looked confused. You don't hate me? I'm the one who seduced Steven, who used being your friend to get close to him. He didn't even care about me at first. Later he just wanted some excitement. When you upset him, I was the one being gentle and considerate. I even told him I didn't expect anything in return, that I wouldn't cling. I just wanted us to be happy in the moment. Then he started seeing your shadow in me, and treated me like that. I shook my head. A man who cheats and then blames the other woman for seducing him, isn't that ridiculous? When I realized you didn't truly care about me, I stopped thinking of you as a real friend. Otherwise it would have been betrayal on both sides. Since I never saw you as a true friend, and you didn't harm me directly, what you did doesn't really concern me. The one who betrayed me was Steven. She laughed bitterly. I really do admire you. But her eyes flicked past me, towards something behind me. Then she said, I still hate you, Regina, because you got everything I ever dreamed of. And before I could react, she pulled a knife out of her pocket, stood up, and lunged toward me. Chapter 8. Ah! I cried out in fright, stumbling backward. She lunged toward me, stabbing wildly again and again. Are you insane, Misty? Throwing away your future over a man, is it really worth it? I shouted, raising my arms to block a strike, only to realize the knife coming at me had no blade. Regina! Regina! Two panicked voices rang out from both sides. Dominic and Steven were charging toward me in horror. Dominic threw himself around me, shielding and pulling me away from danger. Steven kicked Misty hard, knocking her to the ground. Ah! Misty cried out as she hit the ground, her fake knife falling from her hand. Steven glanced at me, seeing I was safe in Dominic's arms, then turned back toward Misty with a dark, murderous look, raising his foot to stomp down on her. "Steven, stop! That knife is a retractable prop," I shouted hastily. Steven froze. Dominic, still holding me, urgently looked me over from head to toe, making sure I wasn't hurt. Misty lay slumped on the ground, letting out a soft, eerie laugh. "Regina, after all those years of friendship, I did pick up a few tricks from you, didn't I? I'd never waste my future on something like this. What the hell were you trying to do?" Steven's voice was sharp and furious. Dominic's face also darkened as he confirmed I was unharmed, his arms tightening protectively around me. Misty looked at Steven with tears in her eyes, then at Dominic, who looked like he could kill her for touching me, and suddenly burst into mad laughter. I sighed. I already knew what she was about to do. "To think, you two powerful, wealthy golden boys," she sneered, pointing at me, so fragile in Dominic's arms, "got played like fools by one woman. Regina was never amnesiac." Steven froze. Misty looked directly at him. "You told me she loved you so much that once she regained her memory, there was no way she could leave you. But the truth is, she never lost her memory. And still, she chose to be with Dominic. And do you know why?" Her voice dropped. "Venomous. Because she never loved you that much to begin with. She found out you betrayed her. And just like that, she found herself a better option. Someone who could keep her living the good life." Misty shouted, turning now to Dominic. "And you, I really don't get it. How could you fall for your brother's woman? She slept with Steven for years. She's never going to love you deeply. You just have the same money, same power, same ability to give her everything. If you lost it all one day, do you really think she'd still run into your arms?" She collapsed on the ground laughing wildly again. "You're all pathetic, ruining your friendship, turning your world upside down, for a woman who could drop you both the moment it suits her." "Shut up!" Dominic snapped at Misty, then turned to me gently. "Regina, let's go." I looked up at him. His expression, once again, wasn't what I'd expected. It was almost too calm. His reactions always seemed to catch me off guard. "Hey, Steven," Misty said, her voice full of scorn. "Do you even dare to ask her? Dare to ask Regina whether she ever lost her memory at all?" Chapter 9. Steven stood there, trembling with panic, confused, scared, avoiding. Because of Misty's outburst, because of my silence, part of the truth had already been revealed. He was afraid to face it, because if it were true, it would mean I really didn't love him anymore. It would mean I had truly chosen to be with Dominic, of my own will. "Regina, let's go," Dominic said firmly, holding me tight, ready to take me away from all this. I looked at Steven, standing there trembling, avoiding the truth. I didn't let Dominic take me away. "That's right," I said calmly. "I never lost my memory." Steven staggered, turning to look at me, his body shaking. Dominic, on the other hand, simply lowered his eyes, as if he wasn't surprised at all. Misty, slumped on the ground, looked at Steven and let out a bitter laugh, one that ended in tears. I looked at Steven. That day, if you had waited just one more second, I would have laughed. I would have told you I was teasing you. But you didn't even wait a second. You denied our relationship immediately. You pushed Dominic toward me. Steven took another shaky step back, his head shaking in panic. "Regina, I was still giving you a chance, if only you had realized your mistake sooner. But you let another man pretend to be my boyfriend. You let another man take care of me. You held Misty in front of me, kissed her in front of me. You lit up the sky with fireworks for her. You looked at her the way you used to look at me. So I gave up on you." I said it clearly. Steven was shaking even harder now, trembling with fear. "Regina, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He stepped forward shakily. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I really regret it. Regina, I just took the wrong path for a moment, just a moment." As he moved closer, Dominic's expression turned dark and watchful. He tightened his grip around me protectively, shielding me completely, not letting Steven come anywhere near. "I know I was wrong, Regina. I've always loved you. The one I wanted to marry has always been you. His eyes were full of tears, fearful tears, the kind that come from knowing you've truly lost everything. His hands trembled as he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. I already had the ring. I was going to propose to you. I was just waiting for you to get your memory back. I wanted to ask for your forgiveness. I was going to spend the rest of my life making it right. I'd take care of you, give you everything you ever wanted. He opened the ring box, hands shaking. Regina, I really love you. Please, forgive me? I know you love me. You used to love me so much. We used to be so in love. Please, Regina, give me a chance. Let me make it up to you. Regina, Stephen. Dominic suddenly reached out and smacked the ring out of his hand. Don't you get it? He snapped. The moment you betrayed Regina, you lost her. You're a man who's already tainted. What right do you have to beg for forgiveness? You were the one who handed Regina over to me. And now, Regina is mine. You will never get another chance. I froze as I listened to Dominic's words, then slowly turned to look at him. Why did he say tainted? That's not something most men would say to another man. Only. I had said something like that once before, in the vineyard. My eyes widened slightly again. Chapter 10. No. No. It can't be. Stephen scrambled to pick up the ring from the ground. Flustered. It can't be. Regina loved me. She loved me so much. When I had a fever, she would coax me to drink porridge and take medicine, mouth to mouth. There was a time I rushed back from out of town in the middle of a storm. Only arriving in the morning, she waited for me on the sofa the whole night. When she thought I'd been in a car accident, and then realized I was only slightly injured, she cried tears of joy and threw herself into my arms, holding me all night long. She once said, as long as I was by her side, she was happy. She felt blessed. She laughed in my arms. She smiled so much. She loved me. She really loved me. She couldn't possibly let me go. He stood there, shaking, crying, unable to accept it, drowning in regret. Misty, still slumped on the ground, looked at Stephen like that, perhaps satisfied in her revenge, or perhaps overcome by sorrow. Stephen, I said softly, I did love you, but not anymore. Then I turned and let Dominic lead me away. Regina! Behind me was Stephen's voice, hoarse and desperate. He knew. He had really, truly lost me. There was no coming back. Dominic took me home. He insisted on checking me over to make sure I wasn't hurt. I let him. Then he pulled me into his arms and kissed me gently. Regina, he said, I love you. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, I love you. I won't ask for all of your love. If you could just love me like you once loved Stephen, that would be enough. I'll be loyal. I'll be clean. I'll give you everything. He spoke so softly, and then took out a ring, luxurious, dazzling, and held my hand tightly. Seriously, nervously, I stared at him, stunned. Then I looked up at his face, realizing something. You, that day, in the vineyard, you heard my conversation with Misty, didn't you? He nodded. I laughed. So I was the mantis stalking the cicada, while you were the oriole waiting behind. I loosened my fingers slightly, allowing his trembling hands to slip the ring onto me, letting him kiss my hand. One day, I said, paint something for me while I'm watching. He paused for a second, then held me tighter. Okay. When Dominic brought me home that day, everything he did showed it clearly. He didn't resent me. He liked me. It was just that. I had once been in Stephen's arms, so his words had always been full of bitter thorns. But how much did he like me? I wasn't sure. Would he still treasure me after he got what he wanted? I wasn't sure, until I found his studio, and saw the many sketches of me, all drawn from memory, one stroke at a time, all kinds of versions of me, every expression, every smile. He poured out so much love in his pencil lines, unrestrained and tender. That's when I realized he had secretly loved me for a very long time. And now, he finally had the chance to have me. And compared to Stephen, he was clean. That day, I also learned I was the only woman he had ever been with. And that was enough. I would love him too. He held me tight that night, whispering everything in his heart. I love you. Regina, since that day so long ago, when I was at Stephen's house, and you mistook me for him, you ran from behind the sofa and hugged me, softly whispering good morning in my ear.